Warning, incoming game over. Warning, incoming game over.
Oh, I forgot to turn off the outro video. Let's.
Warning, incoming game over. Warning, incoming game over.
Oh boy, technology loves me today. And hey, maybe that's just the 2 intros for the episode we didn't do yesterday. You know what? That's what we'll say. Hello and welcome to Game Over Calgary. My name's Conrad Krausert, and the Calgary Flames fall in a shootout to the Anaheim Ducks. And a game that the Flames maybe deserve to win. Depends on probably what metrics you're looking at. But hey, it's just another move towards the trade deadline. Of course, only 5 days away. We'll talk about this one. We'll talk about the events that went on throughout this game. Probably one of the unluckiest goals that Devin Cooley has seen all year, and the continuing downward trajectory of the Calgary Flames as the end of the season approaches. But overall takeaways from this game: foot speed kills in the modern NHL. The Ducks are full of it, and hey, we see other teams in the Pacific Division starting to load up on foot speed, especially when you have that guy named Connor McSomething in your division. It's gonna be interesting to see where this Calgary Flames team goes from here, because we always talk about, when I'm on this show and when Anand's on this show, we always talk about how the Flames need to pick as high as possible. And a lot of people are like, oh, you need to solely focus on first. Gavin McKenna is the only real treasure of the draft. But in a couple of games now, you've definitely seen that you don't need to be drafting first overall to get a player that can change the projection of your team. And of course, I'm talking about Beckett Seneca. Again, I don't think there's enough ways to describe this young player. Obviously, last time he faced the Flames, he had the hat trick. Doesn't get on the score sheet today. I don't think he picked up an assist, if my brain's thinking of this correctly. No, did pick up the secondary assist on the power play goal by Cutter Gauthier. But yeah, guys like Cutter Gauthier, who was kind of shrugged off in Philly. Leo Carlsson, I don't think he was the first overall draft pick. I think he was in the top 5, though. I know, second overall. And hey, let's look at where the Ducks are at in the conference standings, the Pacific Division standings. And hey, they're doing pretty darn good for themselves in second in the Pacific Division. So, hey, maybe tanking and getting good skill can lead to you having a little bit more success. But before we go in any further, I want you to go hit that like button, but more importantly, hey, YouTube's changed their algorithm. If you are not subscribed, you aren't going to see when we go live. So please go hit that subscribe button. And if you want to continue to see us grow and you want to continue to see Game Over Calgary, you need to hit that share button, because it was a little tough last week when we didn't have anybody showing up really to the stream. But you know, it is what it is. Go give us a share. Try and bump up the engagement for this stream. And we'll continue on our way. I think I might need to zoom in my camera for the next episode, but that's neither here nor there for the review of the events of this game. Of course, it started off a little bit interesting as we saw, I was going to say Beecher, but no, Joel Farabee gets into penalty trouble early with what may be the most egregious goaltender interference call I've seen in a long time. Lucas Dostal's skates were not even in the crease. Not even the heels. not even the back of his blades. He's outside the crease. And am I saying that, oh, hey, goalie leaves the crease, it's open season? No. But you can't be out of your crease, aggressively cutting down angles, lunging out with your glove hand and your leg, initiating contact, and then get the goaltender interference call. I was actually celebrating at that time because I thought they were going to call an interference call on Dostal. But no, Joel Farabee, he goes to the penalty box. Fortunately for the Flames, the Ducks do not do anything on that first power play opportunity of the game. And after that, it's a couple of shifts later. And who else but Joel Farabee? He missed a breakaway opportunity just after he exited the box, but Joel Farabee makes good on how he's tormenting Dostal. Comes fresh off the bench, tips in the Ryan Lomberg slap pass, whatever you want to call it. Flames are up 1-0. Beecher gets the phantom secondary assist as he made the pass and then got off the ice. Sure. That's a lot of trade rumors going about Beecher, and hey, if you can get a 7th round draft pick for a guy you plucked off waivers just because he is a center and everyone needs a extra center. Anand is sleeping, most likely. He's been out all weekend with his job with CJ92 out at a slow pitch tournament. He will be back. He'll be covering the next Calgary Flames game when they return back home in their game before the trade deadline. So you'll see Anand in the next episode. But that's where the Flames and Ducks were after one, and in a first period that saw a combined 28 shots, 14 apiece. I think that's kind of the action we were hoping to see from the Calgary Flames. And as I said, I'm on Team Tank, but I'm on Team Excitement more so. Go on to the second, and Cutter Gauthier scores. I don't think you'd ever call this a goal scorer's goal, but this is a guy that has confidence in his abilities. He takes one that goes through the 6'4" or however 6 foot something tall Kevin Ball's frame is. Gets his own rebound, goes by net, and kind of just flips it up, looking for it to go bounce in and around the feet of Devin Cooley, as he has a couple other guys crashing the net, including Leo Carlsson, who is right at the top of the paint. Bounces in off the back of Cooley. You saw him try and grab it off the numbers of his jersey. He just couldn't reach back in time. Tie game. And like, as I said, I don't think of the 27 goals that Cutter Gauthier has scored this season, you're going to call that the most pretty. But hey, it still counts. And I have to wonder, do you think the Flyers are regretting getting rid of Cutter Gauthier? I don't think either side is unhappy with how that trade went. Assist to Leo Carlsson. And then the Flames go to the power play. And Igor Sharangovich, man, when Igor Sharangovich has his shot, it is devastating. Like, walks in and just absolutely lasers that one top corner. But the problem is you get that maybe 10 times a year with Igor Sharangovich. 10 games a year where his shot is released like that one was. But hey, don't argue with it. Get the man some Lego. Figure out a new pregame meal. Whatever he had today, stick with it. Assist to Kevin Ball and Morgan Frost. And as happy as I am that we scored on the power play, as we know that's been a struggle all year, I am not overly happy. Because boy, oh boy, Kevin Ball being on power play too. Kevin Ball is a lot of things for this Calgary Flames team. A power play quarterback, he is not. It almost makes me wish we ran 2 defensemen on that second power play unit, but just isn't there at this time. Or there's just not the players to run that. Because that's the problem, is Zane Parekh was scratched today for the load management reasons, which everyone's so happy to hear. Load management making its way to hockey. But the Flames, after 40 minutes, they have the lead, despite only shooting outshooting the Anaheim Ducks 13-11. And then, as the Flames tend to do, they kind of try and hunker down, play Daryl Sutter hockey, and just try not to give up a lead, and that doesn't work. But the most phantom of tripping calls, wasn't the trip on this one. This was after the holding the stick from Michael Backlund, which was I'm not going to call that one a phantom. But extremely unnecessary. Like, you're in the middle of the neutral zone. You both have your sticks tied up with each other. And I know, 9 times out of 10, that just is ignored by NHL officiating. But hey, it was called today, and that wasn't the worst penalty they called of the evening. Led to this power play. Gauthier from Jackson Lacombe and Beckett Seneca. Tie game. Neither team would score again. In this game, we went all the way to the shootout. Shots on goal in overtime, the Flames only managed 6, but Anaheim only fired 9 on. It was a little bit more physical as this game went on. Overtime, as I said, solved nothing. Only 3 shots, despite the back and forth affair. However, did get a little bit, I'll call it dicey, when Morgan Frost, his stick gets tangled up in the top of the net, and then Jacob Trouba very smartly tries to go through the body and through that stick that was caught up in the net. That's a pretty terrible call by the officials in this game. Like, what do you expect Morgan Frost to do? Like, as soon as he feels pressure on his stick, to just drop it? No, like, that's not what hockey is. Hockey is a contact sport. Pretty weak call there on Morgan Frost. But regardless, that takes us to the shootout. Leo Carlsson, oh boy, that was a filthy move. Made Cooley bite with a fake shot, forehand to backhand into the net. Morgan Frost goes to his signature move, which is that I'm going to skate a million miles until he gets a hash mark. Tries to outweight Lucas Dostal as he goes from left to right. But Dostal keeps his hands high and outweights Frost. Beckett Seneca tries to go with a between the legs, but Cooley kept his eyes on the puck. I really don't know what... I don't think the between the legs look is really what you want in a shootout. But hey, Beckett Seneca had a lot of confidence and decided to go and try and score one of the prettiest goals we would have seen in the shootout all year. But Cooley says no. Nazem Kadri uses the same move as Frost, but he is getting lateral going to the blocker side, beats Dostal blocker side, tied at 1. McTavish used that slow buildup, and I talked about Leo Carlsson's hands. Holy moly. Just chopping that puck, squeaks it under Cooley. Ducks 2, Flames 1. Matt Gridden goes out, weaves slow, but cannot celebrate his 20th birthday with a tying marker. He hits the iron. Game is over. So after a pregame ceremony that featured Lanny McDonald, I obviously didn't understand the link to between Joel Quenneville and Lanny McDonald other than their fantastic mustaches. But apparently they're pretty close when they were in Toronto, and then both traded to the Colorado Rockies at times in their careers. But yeah, Flames unable to take a win in Anaheim. But hey, 11 straight games getting points out of Anaheim. And that's a huge jump, because I think for a lot of us that are in chat, we'll have reminders and horrors of going to Anaheim. The Disneyland curse, as it was called in the city for the longest time. And I think anytime you can pull points out of Anaheim as a Flame, you're pretty happy. That'll take us period number 2, and I'll take this time to remind you. Andrew Berkshire is posting up some interesting work with his contract with Locked On Hockey, the Locked On Canadiens brand. He took the Olympic break and really narrowed down and looked at a lot of what was going on with penalties in the Eastern Conference, and he's still currently combing through data to look at when penalties are being called in the West. So we'll have to see. Maybe the Calgary Flames are still cursed by Dennis Weidman. That info's still coming, but if you want to go give that a read and you're interested in the whole aspect how and the games that the refs get themselves involved in, go give that a read. It's pretty interesting. Maybe this crew needs to be investigated by Andrew. We'll head on to period number 2, which is Eric Francis had a interesting comment come out via the Everything app. And it's really interesting that the 3 important members of the Colorado Avalanche's front office were in Anaheim, and I've even heard allegedly were seen sitting next to Craig Conroy for stretches. So, Nazem Kadri, is that the reunion that we see after hearing about it so many times? Hey, take Nazem Kadri, let's not retain, and let's get Cale Makar back when you can't afford him because you now have Nazem Kadri. But allegedly a lot of the talks have cooled recently with Naz, with Flames front office and general managers allegedly not wanting to use any salary retention with number 91. And I understand it. Like, this is a player that allegedly your front office really likes having on the team. Of course, we think back to Don Baloney's comments of, we need more Nazem Kadris, not less. Seeing Nazem Kadri's play in Los Angeles and today, maybe we don't need as many Nazem Kadris as you think. Maybe 1 is the right number. Maybe 0 is the right number. But I don't think this deal gets done without salary retention. Obviously, Flames worried about that because, hey, you're using your 3 retention spots. Murray Edwards doesn't like paying 2 coaches, let alone 3 hockey players that are no longer on his team. So who knows about that deal. I think that deal will happen. I think it'll probably not be a full 50% retention the Flames do. I think it'll probably be a 30%, regardless of how you don't get to buy out 50% of people's contracts. You don't get an extra spot if you're not retaining the full 50%. It is the full 3 roster players that you can have salary retention on. And we have to remind ourselves that the Jacob Markstrom retention falls off at the end of the season. So you will still have retention next year, even if you do retain on Mr. Nazem Kadri. The other player that I think people are keeping the understanding of these are the last days of him as a Calgary Flame is Blake Coleman. Blake kind of got dinged up again today. Saw him grimacing on the bench after he was thrown to the boards a little bit awkwardly. I don't think it changes the trade value of Blake Coleman. I think Blake Coleman is a known attribute. And hey, like, if your power play or your penalty kill is struggling, Blake Coleman is a great option, as is Joel Farabee, who we haven't really heard a lot of talk about Farabee and Frost with them being younger guys, so I think we'll stick around for a fair bit. And hey, we could have a lot of New Yorkers on this Calgary Flame roster. It kind of feels like. The other guy we were looking at potentially is Mackenzie Weegar. He has another solid game, blocks another couple of shots. I think the one thing that would prevent his move is I don't think the Sens really know what they are right now, and apparently they were the ones really kicking the tires in that regard. Also, of course, saw Braden Bahal draw back in the lineup. Maybe that is a little bit of showing the scouts that were in attendance out of Colorado if maybe he's going to be another piece that moves to Colorado. Just, hey, here's our 7th defenseman who is a very capable 7th defenseman. Have a look. Of course, we said, the club has said that it's officially a maintenance day for Zane Parekh. And in fact, little Uzi Burt has my 3rd period topic already pointed out for us. So let's roll on into that 3rd period. And this Flames roster just seems to play different when Ryan Lomberg is in the lineup. Do I think Ryan Lomberg is the best Calgary Flame on 82 games of the schedule? No, I do not think he is the most talented. But I think there is something magical about what Ryan Lomberg brings to this Flames team. Whether it's him getting involved physically, or hey, he had another assist today. Like, there is just something magical about what Ryan Lomberg brings when he is dressed. I also think he brings out the best in Adam Klapka when those two are on the same line. Is it finding a center who can reliably win faceoffs and be a defensive presence with them instead of whatever John Beecher has been and probably not continuing on with the what or is Justin Kirkland an NHLer? Or hey, is it bringing up one of the younger guys from the Wranglers and just saying, here you two, well, I wouldn't really call Klapka an aged veteran, but I certainly would say that about Ryan Lomberg. Here, go have this young guy who wants to earn a spot on this roster, because I don't think John Beecher really has that ability to go out and be as much of a pest as those other two names that I've mentioned, but I could be wrong. But it's as Lil Lucifer said, I think Ryan Lomberg is one of the heartbeats of the squad. And I think he needs to eat less popcorn, not more of it going forward. Like, I understand he's not going to be a point a game, not even a half a game, point a game guy. But hey, if he can pump up the rest of the guys by going out leveling a hit on a guy that's a foot and a half taller than him and be that vibes guy, let's see. I'd be okay understanding of him having that roster spot. Especially for a team that seemingly has a hard time getting themselves into the fight. We saw that in Las Vegas, and I really was questioning why he wasn't in the roster against Vegas. Like, I don't know. Or not Vegas, Los Angeles. Too many loss in this league. At the end of the day, this Calgary Flames roster, who I think most of us in this chat and watching this video think need to be on Team Tank a little bit more than they currently are. And coming home out of this California road swing at an even 500, we're unhappy with that. Especially when other teams that are around you in the battle for the basement are starting to lose. Or starting to win, rather. Starting to lose out in their battle to the bottom. Winning games off of the Olympic break. So the Flames, with the win in San Jose and the point here, kind of not falling as far as they could. I really thought that you needed to move Nazem Kadri after that game against the Sharks. But we are seeing more reports. I'm just seeing another report that people are putting some credence to. Ryan O'Hara of the Hockey News, MLI Hockey, obviously out of Colorado, reporting that the names in the potential dealing of Nazem Kadri back to Colorado would be Ross Colton and a first-round pick. And they're also saying there could be another kind of sweetener in there. Obviously, dollar figures are needing to be worked on. And I'm just going to look up the Ross Colton contract because I think that's an important part of this. Because he is on year 3 of 4 of a $4 million deal. The 29-year-old left wing / center out of Robbinsville, New Jersey. Does it allow you to get out of a contract that I don't think is overly great a little bit sooner than Nazem Kadri's? Yeah, he's a UFA at the end of the 2026-27 season. And he'll be 30 at that time. So, I don't know. Maybe that is the way that things get to work. And obviously, with Colorado being up so close to the cap. And of course, as we said on the last episode, they do not have a first round pick for 2026. So it would be a 2027 first, if anything. So we'll have to see what comes of that. Obviously, another couple of guys that make high dollar figures. I don't think the Avs are ever moving Martin Nakis. He has a full, doesn't have a trade, doesn't have the trade protection. And we're, of course, this is thinking that this will all depend on if the Calgary Flames are on Ross Colton's modified NTC. Apparently has a 12-team no-trade list, and as we have heard through various sources in previous guys that have modified no-trade clauses, it's generally the 6 Canadian teams and the bottom 6 American teams at the beginning of the year. So we'll have to see if that does work out. I was certainly hoping that it would be a younger player, maybe a Jack Drury, especially because he's an ARB eligible RFA. I don't think anyone else in that roster really overly makes this deal move. Obviously, just acquired Brett Kulak to try and adjust some of their contract troubles to try and acquire Nazem Kadri. As far as a sweetener goes, you have to think that it could be someone like not going to be Sergei Bobrovsky because he's still technically on their list. You have to wonder if it's a guy like Alex Gagne, who is a non-roster defenseman on his ELC. Because, hey, we all know Craig Conroy enjoys getting some of these guys that are still students. Another guy that I think might be thrown in as a sweetener because he is an ARB eligible RFA after this season is Ivan or Ivan. I'm not sure how we're supposed to say that name. Or potentially a Calgary-born who is there most likely to make his brother happy in Taylor Makar. Who knows? Maybe he makes a return home as the sweetener in that deal. But as I said, it's interesting that the Flames continue to have these conversations, and I know that there has been Lomberg's name shouted from a few voices. I don't necessarily think that's the way the management feels about the player. So we'll have to see. Now we'll head into overtime. If anyone has any questions, feel free to throw them in the chat now. As we said, talked about Anand doing some hard work this weekend for the CJ92 charity, involving some slow pitch. Luckily, it was a pretty nice weekend to be out there at Shoaldice Park doing some slow pitch. Had a little bit of a sports venue scare. I don't know if everyone was paying attention to this over the last couple of periods like I was. I live over by McMahon Stadium, and there were some video or photos posted of McMahon Stadium allegedly being on fire. Luckily, it was just the dumpsters that are on the east side of the building that allegedly were lit on fire. So no, we aren't going to get a new football stadium anytime soon because it burnt down. I guess it's good for the Calgary Wild and Calgary Stampeders that their sporting venue didn't burn down, despite the fact that it needs to be replaced regardless. Come on, McMahon Stadium Society. Let's chop chop. I guess I'll pose this question to you. Or I'll ask this in a series of 3 questions. I know we got a couple people hanging around. Number 1, if the Flames do trade Nazem Kadri and other such names, are you going to continue to watch this season, or is that, as soon as those players move, is that going to be the season over for you and your engagement. And question number 2 is, if the Flames do decide to move on from John Beecher and they get a 7th round or a 6th round or a bag of pucks, is that success to you? Is that something that you're like, well, at least we turned a waiver claim into another asset? And I'll give you guys a few minutes to think about that. Because to me, if you are able to turn a waiver claim into any kind of asset, it is probably the best you can do with any player, whether that be John Beecher or anyone else you claim on waivers. Look at the Colorado Avalanche. Like, they turned Ilya Solovyov into roster players, like in the move with Pittsburgh. Anytime you can do either get valuable games played, which the Calgary Flames had, or get another asset to use at the deadline or through, and getting more darts to throw at the dartboard, even if they're 7th rounders. Because, hey, remember, Ethan Winback was drafted with a 5th overall, or 5th round, not 5th overall. Ugh, I wish we had a 5th overall. But a 5th round pick. And we've had some pretty good luck with Johnny Gaudreau being a later round pick as well. But since like everyone has gone to bed, it's 9:30 on a Sunday, or 9:40 on a Sunday, I think I'm going to call it here. Because I didn't get any answers in chat. But anyways, as I said, it will be the return of Anand Unithan when we return, as the Flames return home after their California road swing. Just going to get the puck drop time because I do not remember. Oh, lose your as I look for this info. Thank you for chipping in. I'll continue to watch no matter the trades that occur and the sadness that occurs with it. And Beecher has to go. Need the assets and more playing time for Martin Pospisil. After what we saw in Los Angeles, I think the Pospisil as a 4th line center experiment is done in the eyes of our God King Ryan Huska. But yeah, I agree. Martin Pospisil should not be the scratch. The guy I thought should be a scratch scored today, though. So what do I know? Yeah, it will be, because I'm going to the game. I should know when the game starts, because I'm gonna be there in the building. If you see me, feel free to say hi. Tuesday, 7 p.m. start. The Dallas Stars come to town. And hey, maybe they acquire Blake Coleman before then. Maybe we see the Texas Tiger on the other side. But that will be Anand bringing you that one, as I am in the building for that day. But that's it for tonight's game. Thank you so much for tuning in. Thank you so much for your liking, sharing, and commenting. We'll be back when the Flames play the Dallas Stars, 7 p.m. on Tuesday, probably around a 9:45 unless they go to overtime. Starting point for that one. Thank you so much, everyone.